And we are live. Welcome to this edition of Wealthy Wednesday. You know what I always say? Champions don't panic, we pivot. And we just pivoted right into the metaverse. We had a little technical challenges, but you know what? I love that because that tells me I know today's talk is going to change somebody's life today. Look at when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And my name is Leah Garcia, financial strategist and insurance professional. And I usually introduce myself, but today I'm going to let my AI do it for me. Take it away.
Are you a business owner looking to secure your financial future and create a lasting legacy? I'm Leah Garcia, a financial strategist and insurance professional, and I specialize in guiding businesses with up to 50 employees on how to effectively protect and transfer their wealth. We break down silos with my unique approach, the Wall of Wealth. Imagine a seamless collaboration among your CPA, tax attorney, estate planner, and insurance expert, each playing their part in perfect harmony, ensuring your financial strategy is not just effective, but a true masterpiece. My passion stems from my own journey, from growing up on food stamps to dreaming of building community centers that empower others. Together, we'll craft a roadmap that not only safeguards your assets, but also nurtures generational wealth for your loved ones. Let's transform your vision into reality. After all, you can't measure the heart of a champion just by looking at them. Join me, and let's make your financial future shine.
Created all of that for me, which is the Hello LLC. And that's how we're in this plaza right now. Well, gosh, I am so fired up about today because I know today is going to be life changing for somebody. Somebody's going to listen to this, whether you're live or you are watching the replay. Today is going to be copious note taking, but I'm going to say it's going to blow your mind. Be prepared. Remember, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And I always talk about the power of the penny. And people see pennies and they just kind of toss them away. They might kind of toss them on the bottom of their purse or see them in between the couch cushions and they just kind of ignore them. Maybe they walk past them on the street. Some people even throw them away. But do you know that if you took a penny and you doubled it every day for a year, you would have 68,719,476.74. Now, a lot of people think, wow, how can I do that? You know, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. You will never look at a penny the same way again. And I'm not implying that you should pick up pennies. What I'm saying is that today it's about perspective. We've all known what we know about money, but today is going to be money changing. I call this a growth money mind shift, right? It's not a mindset, it's a mind shift. Today's going to shift your thinking. So forget about whatever you think you know or what you've known about money and be prepared, available for new information. Well, today we're talking about the tax secrets of the self-made, a roadmap to sustainable wealth. I'm going to say that again because it's so good. The tax secrets of the self-made, a roadmap to sustainable wealth. You know, maybe you've been born with a silver spoon in your mouth, but most of us haven't. Most of us are that self-made. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're a small business owner, you're a solopreneur, and you want to have wealth, it's not just about how much money we make. We all know it's how much money we keep that matters most. And so today, my guest speaker, she is an IRS enrolled agent and founder of Victor and Associates. She also teaches a strategy known as the Tax to Wealth EA. Tax to Wealth EA. She's an enrolled agent, which is a specialized certification. And I said, I am so proud, so honored to have that she's taken time away from her business and her family to be with us here today. So I'm going to introduce you, Miss Christiana Carty. Take it away, Miss Chris.
Oh my God. Thank you, Miss Leah, for inviting me here, and second for that wonderful introduction. So as Miss Leah said, my name is Christiane Carty. I'm an enrolled agent. I'm licensed by the Internal Revenue Service, and I help my clients, mainly business owners, shift their perspective differentiate on the tax code and use the tax code as a tool to create lasting wealth. So today, I would love to speak with you guys about the tax code, not just as a weapon the IRS uses to keep all your money, but as a tool that you can use to implement in your wealth strategy to help you to grow wealth, not just to grow it, to protect it, and to keep it for future generations.
Yes, absolutely. I always talk about creating generational and multi-generational wealth. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, we work really hard to accumulate this wealth. But I say that is one muscle. Protecting it, distributing it, and transferring that wealth is quite a different muscle. The protection of your wealth, there's different strategies to distribute that. So we have this wealth. How do we spend it? I call it a spending plan. There's a mathematical, systematic way to spend your money. And then how do we transfer that? How do we save it and not save it, but how do we transfer that to our loved ones, to the next generation? If we're working so hard just to create this business, just to dissolve it and close the doors, then we might as well get a job. We're doing all of this, getting up early, staying up late to create that generational and multi-generational wealth. So today, well, I have a few questions for you. I'd like to start us off, Chris. I like for you, because there's a lot of misconceptions when I sit down with a business owner about the difference of having an accountant, having a CPA or an enrolled agent, somebody that is more a historian, and then having somebody that really does advanced planning. Could you kind of unpack that for us, kind of the differences of that?
Sure, I'd love to. Okay, so I refer to it this way. A CPA, or most CPAs, are police officers. They show up after the crime has been committed. So let's say they're looking at your books, your numbers, but it's after it happened, right? It's historical. So they don't really have information on what's happening in the future, what they're not planning. They're dealing with what happened in the past. And now they're trying to trace back what happened in the past to figure out how to fix that. An enrolled agent is something different. Well, not an enrolled agent, but a tax strategist, because you can be an enrolled agent and do different things, like represent clients before the IRS, and that's all you do. But what I do is I strategize with my clients about taxes. I teach them how to use the tax code as a tool, right? So as an enrolled agent and a tax strategist, I show my clients how to plan for taxes. So we're not thinking about it is the end of the year and now I'm rushing to try and figure out how to save on taxes. This is a year-long process, and we're strategizing all year long to determine what are the best tax strategies to implement in your business to protect your money, to save you taxes. Because at the end of the day, it is never about how much money you make. It is amazing to make more money, but how much of that money are you keeping is the most important thing. And so what an enrolled agent or a tax strategist does is help you to strategize to make sure that you're keeping more of that money rather than giving it to the IRS.
I love that. I love that you said they show up after the crime has already been committed, right? And you know, we want to stay in compliance. Obviously, that is important. But I always ask. This is one of the first questions that I ask business owners or an entrepreneur when I start working with them: is when was the last time your tax professional came to you with an idea that saved you time, money, or taxes? And usually they kind of look at me like I have three eyeballs. They're like, what are you talking about? They just tell me, listen, this is what I did all year. I bring them all the receipts, and then they do their calculations, and then they just tell me, this is what you owe. Just write the check. So I'd like to know, when we talk about advanced planning, what really inspired you to go from more of just not just, but to go from being the compliance officer to really into getting into more of advanced planning? What kind of went through your mind when you started to make that click that maybe it was time to upgrade?
Okay, so first I'd like to say that CPAs, I love CPAs. Some CPAs are tax strategists, but not all are. And they do those who are tax strategists do an amazing job too, most of the time. But as a tax strategist, my journey to become a tax strategist or even my journey into tax law started because it began on a personal level. So it began because my daughter got audited. So back in 2012, my daughter had just turned 20 and she got audited. So imagine a 20-year-old being audited, right? This is the IRS, and the IRS is the biggest collection machine on earth. Adults like tremble just hearing the word. And she's 20 and she's being audited. And she calls me and she's hysterical. And I'm panicking because my daughter is hysterical. I'm thinking something happened and she's like, I got audited and you need to fix it. At that time, I'm an accountant. And I'm an accountant working for a construction company. An accountant doesn't mean that I can fix an IRS audit, right? So now, as a parent, I did what any parent would do. I tried to figure out how to help my child. And so I started researching how to help her. And that research changed my life because I started reading the tax code. And as I'm reading, what I'm learning is the idea that most people have about taxes, about the IRS. It is so wrong, right? Yes, it could be punitive if you don't follow the rules. But if you knew the rules, what I'm discovering, if you knew the rules, those rules were like a love letter to a taxpayer, especially if you're a business owner. It is the strategies buried in these rules that tell you how to save, what strategies to apply to your money so that you can keep more, so that you can grow. And as I'm learning this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in love. This is what I was meant to do, right? And so after I won that audit for her, I started, okay, this is what I want to do. So I started learning more and I started helping others, helping business owners. But one thing that I discovered was knowing the tax code doesn't necessarily make you a strategist, right? Because you can know it, but not know how to apply it. So I needed to move beyond this is what the code says and figure out how can I bend what the code says without breaking it, always being in compliance with the letter of the law, but being able to find a client loopholes to keep more of the money while applying the tax code. So this is what really got me into taxes and into tax strategy. And for the tax strategy piece of it, a client came to me once and he had an accountant. He paid his accountant $70,000 a year because he has company, his revenue is in the multi-millions. He paid $70,000 for the year to an accountant, but his tax bill was $700,000. Now, I know that wasn't my $700,000, but all I'm thinking is that is 7 freaking houses right there. Because if the client had been able to keep that money, if there had been a tax plan in place, he'd have been able to take that money and go out and invest in real estate and create him a whole real estate empire. So that was so much wealth that he had just lost. It angered me. And that moved me to, okay, what I really need to focus on is how to help clients, not just have an accountant that you meet with at the end of the year, but to have someone who is their partner, who will sit down with them and discuss what their life goals is, not just their goals for the business, but their goals for their families, the lifestyle that they want to create, and the wealth targets that they want to meet. And then integrate that into the service that I provide to them so that I can help them to get to those goals that they set.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that you said it's really a love letter. A lot of times people look at all the rules and they think of it as being punitive, but like I shared in the beginning and you shared also, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change, that gives us a new perspective. And I loved your story about your daughter, because what you did was you went and you looked for the research. You already had some knowledge and you had that ability to go ahead and take it a deeper level. Most of us don't really have that time or even have the basics, so they really wouldn't be able to do that. For me, what happened was, why I really started to become a strategist was when I had a client who had been with me for many, many years, and his father was so brilliant. He bought himself a piece of real estate every year on his birthday for over 30 years. And when he passed away, I always ask my client, hey, do you have a living trust? He's like, yeah, Leah, we got that all set up. Well, the father passed away and left things to the mother. The mother kind of didn't really understand the strategy that the husband had in place, and she kind of started selling off some assets. And then it was time, she passed away, and now it was being inherited by the children. And my client had to end up writing a check to the IRS for over $5 million. Yeah, he told me about this. And I asked him, I said, well, what did your tax professional do? He had a CPA. What did your CPA tell you? And my CPA told me, just go ahead. Wow, there has to be another way. There has to be more information. And that's when I really started to do a lot of research, and really to find out that there are a lot of advanced strategies that most people are just not aware of. They think, hey, I've got a CPA, I have an accountant, they must be good. But I call it the 4-pillar professionals. And I'd love your feedback on this, Chris. I call it the 4-pillar professionals you need on your team, because a lot of business owners, they might have an accountant, they might have a tax professional, maybe they have an insurance agent, and maybe they've got somebody helping them with their estate plan. But all of those professionals are working in their own silo. They stay in their lane. They don't know who those other professionals are. They've never communicated with them. So everybody is kind of giving that business owner different information. The tax person's focused on the taxes, right? The estate planning person is focused on the estate. And they kind of give this information that could be conflicting and often confusing. I believe that when you have everything working in concert and everything is on the same sheet of music, it's like a beautiful symphony. And those 4 pillars are that was your tax professional. I prefer either a CPA, enrolled agent, something like that. Most of them happen to be both, but not all. And then you want your estate planning attorney, right? Because it's all about that planning, having those legal documents in place. Also can help you with buy-sell agreements and stuff, things of that nature. And then you want to have a tax attorney, because when you need a tax attorney, you don't want to have to invest a bunch of time looking for somebody. You may need some white papers and things of that nature. And then you need a licensed life and health insurance agent, because in my humble opinion, I can do things that a wealth management cannot do. Wealth management are focused on building your wealth in some form or fashion. I'm going to do work hand in hand with your professional, strategizing and masterminding in the background and bringing those solutions to you. So what do you think about that, Chris?
So I think that just like you, I think that wealth creation, protection, and then being able to pass on that wealth to future generations needs to be addressed from a holistic angle. It can't be each professional working separately, because like you said, you get conflicting information, and then it doesn't help the client. At the core is always what is best for the client, what does the client want, and what is the best way to get them to that goal. So when you have those professionals working together, you're reducing the client's risk, you're reducing risk of loss, you're increasing the chances of growth, and you're increasing their protection and the ability to pass on that wealth to their future generations. So I truly believe, just like you, that wealth creation, protection, all of that is supposed to be in one vehicle. Not one vehicle as in one person handling it, but one team handling everything together to get the best possible result for the client. And that's how I work with my clients. So when a client comes to me, it's not just you're coming to me because you need help with taxes. When a client comes to me, I make sure that I'm asking the client really focused questions about where they are in their wealth journey, what their goals are, what they intend. And then I help them to curate a team. If they don't have that team, I pull out of my network the different pieces that they need and help them to put that together so they have that holistic package. So that it is not just tax strategy, but I saved money on taxes. Yes, you did, and that's great. But what happened to that money that you saved? Where did it go, right? So everybody wants to save money on taxes. It's kind of like that thing that says everybody wants to go to heaven, nobody wants to die, right? Everybody wants to save money on taxes, but nobody wants to address what happens to that money after I save. So you saved money. Did you just go out and spend it? Did you reinvest it in your business? Or did you buy assets that can help you to reduce your tax liability in the future, like in the present, in the future? So it is not just about what happens now, saving the taxes. It's about what happens to the money that I save, what vehicles is it invested in that can help me to manage my tax liability in the future? How does that wealth get passed on to my future generations? And that's why when I work with someone, I address all those issues and bring a team together to handle that.
Yeah, that's so good. We work holistically and proactively. Anybody can give you some basic strategies at the end of the year. Go ahead and open up an IRA. I mean, some basic things like that. But all that's doing is really postponing. I think that's procrastinating that taxes, right? And when is procrastination ever a good thing, by the way? So I'd love to give you a couple of scenarios. This is something that happens very often. I meet with somebody there, you know, getting ready to retire. They built this business and now they've got some, maybe some equity in their business. They've got some IRAs and they have a lot of the wealth in the real estate. A lot of people who come to me have a lot of wealth in real estate. And now they're looking at selling real estate, but they don't want to repurchase, right? They don't want to do a exchange and buy more real estate. They kind of want to start winding down. What can somebody like that do? Give us some ideas. I mean, aside from just writing the check like my client did for $5 million or more, are there some strategies that maybe they could implement? Give us some hints.
So the first thing would be, it's not what to do in the moment. It is what should have been done in the past, the planning stage, right? Whenever a client comes to me, the first thing I always talk to them about an exit strategy. What is your exit strategy? So if real estate, if your assets are real estate, what are your plans for that real estate, right? Are you planning to sell them in the future, or are you planning to pass them on to your kids, right? Because your exit strategy determines it determines the treatment of that asset when that time comes. So if you have time to plan in advance, then when that time comes, you've already catered for what happens to that income when you receive it, when the sale is made, right? So for the people who do not plan, and now I have real estate, let's say I have a property and that property value is about $900,000. I want to sell that property, but I'm going to be hit with long-term capital gains. There's no avoiding that unless I find a strategy that allows me to not sell that property and still have access to that money. So what kind of strategies can you use? One of the strategies that I tell people about is you can do a reverse mortgage. So the reverse mortgage allows you to access all the income, but you're not paying any taxes on it because it is a loan, and loans are not taxable. So if you sell the property, there's capital gains tax. If you do a reverse mortgage on that property, there's no tax.
Yeah, that's so brilliant. And then on the back end, it's all about planning. On the back end, because sometimes they may say, well, I want to leave that asset to my children. There's a strategy that I use, and that's having a life insurance on the back end that will give them the assets, the cash to be able to dig themselves out of that reverse mortgage. That's something that a lot of people, I used to be very anti-reverse mortgage, but they've changed a lot in the recent years. And what I've learned is if the majority of your wealth is in your real estate, it's probably the only option for a lot of people, or it's at least worth taking a second look at. So what I'd like to talk about, great comments also. Other strategies also, really, it just depends on, every client is different. These are not cookie cutter solutions, one size fits all. It really requires that planning, sitting down and being transparent, really what you want, where you want to go. Begin with the end in mind. What are you going to do? Are you going to move out of the, maybe move out of state? Do you want to buy a vacation home? Like, where do you see yourself, and how do you, in the manner in which you want to retire? So I love that you said that. So something I see a lot is people who, they create partnerships in business. And I'm going to use this term very lightly. You can't see me, but I'm using air quotes. They create these partnerships, right? They say, hey, buddy, you look pretty good. We've got a lot of the same ideas. Let's work together, and let's go ahead and buy this real estate together. Let's open up this business together. I trust you. You trust me. We're good. And we all are good until we're not. And then things happen, like somebody gets sick, somebody gets a major diagnosis, cancer, heart attack, stroke, or somebody passes away. Somebody gets into a major accident, and now they can't participate in that asset. They can't participate in that business. So what kinds of things have you seen, like with partnerships, planning? Because then, then they need to liquidate that business, or they need to start looking at how are they going to absolutely separate that business. What do you see when people come to you with those kinds of situations, Chris? Or have you ever seen that situation?
So my clients, I haven't come across someone in that particular situation, but what I tell my clients is, when you enter a partnership with someone, think about it as you're getting married to someone. It is a marriage because you're marrying your money to theirs. You're marrying your money now, and you're marrying your future income to theirs. So before you get into a partnership, due diligence is the most important thing. You need to figure out who this person is, why you're getting into business with them, and then you need to put the proper documents in place for every situation. What happens if, what happens when, because that's the only way that you can protect your investment. So the way I put it is, every relationship, if you look at
Yeah, that's so good.
There's prenups, right? So when you're getting into a partnership, the partnership agreement, most people think that a partnership agreement is just a basic formation document, just to check the box, but it's not, because it is the legal document that determines everything that happens in that business. So I tell my clients that before you get into business with someone, think about it like you're getting married to someone, and you do your due diligence and make sure that you have your prenup in place, so that if anything happens down the road, you can avoid those situations. Or if not avoid it, but you have a step-by-step procedure on how to deal with it.
Yeah, that is so good. I love that you use that analogy of a marriage, right? It is long term, until death do you part, and have that prenup in place, because you're not only marrying for now, you said you're marrying your future income. That is brilliant. And having those documents in place, and by the way, buy-sell agreements, right? Succession planning, having that life insurance in place so that they can have an orderly exit, really critical and important. So let's kind of talk about, what about like business owners? They do create wealth through their business. They've done well. And this is where I see a lot of people. They've had some strategies that they put together in the beginning. They had to do everything. Maybe they had a friend from high school who knows how to do taxes, and they do their tax returns with them. They have a friend who's, just got a newborn, and they have that friend sit at the front desk just to kind of, have everything going. And then they start to make some income, and now they're not sure what to do. How do they upgrade their systems? Because they've never even thought about it. They don't even know what to do. So what do you say? I'm sure you see this a lot, because I see this a lot of times. Somebody who's starting to make some money, but they haven't even upgraded any of their systems. And now they're paying a lot of money to the IRS because they're still sole proprietor. They are commingling their funds. They're just kind of all over the place. Where do you kind of start with somebody that has positive cash flow? They've worked hard to build their business and now they're ready to get to that next level.
Oh my God. So this is something that I see every single day, right? And so the first thing I tell a client is, if you're a contractor, would you build a house without first laying the foundation? And the answer is no, right? Because you can't build a house without a foundation. So a key foundation piece to any business, your business finances, personal finances, is having that team member who is a tax advisor, someone who can help you to plan what happens with your income, not the income that you have now, but as your income grows. So the first thing that you do when you start a business, even when you have friends who may be, oh, well, I can do your tax return. Because you're my friend doesn't mean you get to be in my finances. Or my mom have a CPA and I could use their CPA. Because they're your parents' CPA doesn't mean that they're your CPA, right? It doesn't mean that they're for you. You need to find someone that you can sit and have a conversation with about where you are, where you intend to be in the next, say, 5 years, 10 years. And that person can help you plan for that. You need to get somebody on your team to quarterback that team. Your quarterback is, I'm looking out for your taxes. I'm looking out for you to keep more of your money, but I'm also looking out to bring you the other key people that you need on that team to help you to get to those goals. So this is where you start. You find yourself a financial person, a tax strategist who is your quarterback. And not someone who is looking for, oh, this is a client who has high revenue, so they're going to pay good fees. Someone who is willing to be your partner. Someone who is in the trenches with you, who will bring that team together for you because they have your best interest at heart. Because to me, when I work with a client, it means that if my client succeeds, I succeed. So I think of the client first. Because I help the client to grow, my business grows. This is the type of person that they need as their quarterback on their team. And every business owner who has positive cash flow needs to have that quarterback on their team. Did I lose you?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, that's so good. Man, that is so fire. And yes, I see this all the time too. And it's really about upgrading your systems. Maybe in the beginning, you have to kind of start and be that janitor of the business, like Mr. Mike Drop Jones always talks about. But when you start to get things going, it is time to really put in a true system in place. And sometimes also they just aren't aware that there are other options. This is what they've always done. This is the way they always did it. And they never even knew that there was a way to start upgrading their systems. And something I see a lot too is maybe they have a friend who's a chiropractor, but they are a general contractor. Well, their chiropractor loves their tax professional. They're an enrolled agent. They're a CPA, so they're the right credentials, but they're a general contractor. They go ahead and get that tax professional who is great working with chiropractors, but maybe not be the best person if they're a contractor. So say a little bit about that. Have you seen that happen with a lot of people?
It happens all the time. And here's the thing. Tax planning, wealth preservation. This is not a one size fits all. It is unique strategies based on your individual situation. So one tax strategy may work for someone who is a chiropractor and he could get huge savings from that. But that same strategy may not work for someone who is a contractor because their situation is different. So you need someone who is not just an expert in tax strategy, but someone who knows your industry. Because that way you know that you get in a plan that is curated for you, to your individual needs. And okay, so I tell clients to look at it this way. If I need to get something, you could run to Walmart and pick it up, or you could go to Whole Foods. What is the difference between the product you get from Walmart and the one you get from Whole Foods? Right? One is, it may be less costly, but most likely the quality is not the same. It is of lesser quality, right? So it's the same thing. You may go to someone who can help a chiropractor, they're a generalist, and you will get general strategies. You go to someone who specializes in your industry, you get strategies that are specific to your industry and to your personal situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say, the wall of wealth. I'm going to always go back to my wall of wealth because even as a business owner, they need to put together the foundation, which is having that wall of wealth in place. And then, by the way, Chris and I are working together to create the wall of wealth for business owners. And that is going to be fire. I cannot wait for that. That is going to be incredible. So it's really putting in systems in place and understanding it's about order of operations. I took ninth grade algebra about 5 times. I don't think I ever passed that class. I didn't learn a whole lot, but one thing I did learn was order of operations. We have to put down our foundation. And unfortunately, a lot of well-meaning business owners, a lot of well-meaning families, they put on foundation. It may work for you for some point. If it's not now, it will be in the future where that no longer works. And things happen. Life starts lifing us. And then that wealth that we think we accumulated is kind of swept away. And that's really unfortunate. So it's really putting in that foundation, just like you alluded to, Chris. I love that. So let's say now, because you and I help a lot of contractors, some of my clients that have been with me the longest are in the contracting space. And one thing I see a lot is, they haven't really put those systems in place. And one thing I've never seen a lot of contractors who kind of overlook creating a valuation, like getting a business valuation. They think they're going to work hard, create this business, and then they're going to sell it for millions and millions of dollars, but they've never done a business valuation. At what point should they start thinking about those kinds of things?
So I don't I think the clients are supposed to not just get the valuation at the point where you're thinking about selling, but you're supposed to be thinking about how you're going to exit from the beginning. So before you jump in, it is, I am creating this business, and this business is, I work and I retire, I sell it and I'm going to sell it. It's my retirement plan. Or I work and I'm going to pass it on to my kids. Now you have different you have different options. So now you can strategize different. If your goal is to, I'm going to sell this, it's my retirement fund so that I can sell it and walk off into the sunset, then from the beginning, you start building that business as if you building a business that is publicly traded, so that when the time comes to sell it, the value is there. Because a lot of the time, we build a business and we're the business, right? There's no systems in place. There's no SOPs. There's nothing that helps that business to live beyond us. So if that business begins and ends with you, how are you going to sell it? So I tell them to systematize. That is the thing. That is like the most important thing. Make sure that you have systems in place that can show the value of the business, because someone can step in and manage that business without you. Then when it comes to valuation, I have a 50-point checklist that I give to my clients anytime that conversation about, well, I am planning to do an exit in the next 3 years. Here's a 50-point checklist that you need to look at to make sure that all these things are in place before you even get to, I am now ready to hire a professional to come in and value that business. Because if you don't put all these steps in place, a professional comes in and gives you the value of your business, and now you're devastated because the idea that you had in your head that your business is worth, it's not worth anywhere close to that. So always start with the end in mind. Have an idea of where you want to go, what your exit is, and not build that business so that when it comes to exit, you can get the maximum value as possible.
That's so true. I mean, if their biggest asset, it's their intellectual property between their two ears is all they have, and they haven't put together a true way on how to transfer that information. They don't have systems in place so that somebody else could pick it up, and they are really operating in delusion because it just really won't happen. And I love that you said a 50-point checklist. So could you share maybe two or three things that maybe a lot of contractors haven't thought of, or just something that they could kind of take away? What are a couple of things they should think about if
So the first thing
they're really
contractors
saying,
never think
I'm
about
yours?
is the first thing contractors never think about is the value that keeping their books bring to a business. Not even to the valuation part only, but to the tax planning part as well. If your books are not in order, you can't plan for taxes because you have no idea if you're profitable. I, I as your strategist have no idea how much money you're actually making, what your net profit is going to be, so that I can now strategize to help you to save on taxes. Now, if you can save on taxes, it means that you eating the profits, taxes are eating the profits of your business, which is reducing the valuation that your business is going to get. The next part is when you get an offer, a buyer who's interested in your business, and they're looking at your books, well, most contractors, where are my books? Because if we're honest, a lot of contractors are receipts in boxes. To this day, it still surprises me that a client will someone will come to you and they'll have receipts in a shoebox, and that
Right.
is the business. If you don't have a systematic way, a set of books that the person who wants to make an offer of your business can look at to see how profitable your business is, what your cash flow is, how are you going to get an offer on that business? And if you do get an offer, that offer is not going to be anywhere near to what the business is actually worth, because there's no way to show the value of the business. One of the other things I see contractors do, and for me, that one is not much the valuation part of things, I think, but more the opportunities available as a contractor to them to build more wealth, to add more value to their business and their personal network. So I see contractors who they're out there and they're building houses. You're a contractor, you're building houses, you're out there building communities. Build a house, sell a house, build a house. I got a contract to build 3 houses. I built those 3 houses. I'm building for someone else. But that qualifies you to be a real estate professional, to have houses, to invest in real estate of your own and get all the benefits that come with that, right? Where you can apply tax strategies like cost tax studies to literally get an asset that is cash flowing, that I can depreciate with a paper loss, add cost tax strategies, go home with a huge tax deduction that can create losses for me, that can give me money back in my pocket as tax refunds that I can now use to purchase more. And they don't do it. And so If you're a contractor, real estate professional is something that just about every person who dabbles in real estate wish they qualified for. But for you, because that's what you do all the time, it is almost automatic. Why not take advantage of one of the most powerful strategies there is to create wealth and to keep that wealth?
I love that. That was a mic drop moment. And I'm going to unpack that a little bit, Chris, if I can. So I love that you hinted to cost segregation, which is an advanced planning that a lot of people is just invisible to them. They don't even know what it is. They have never even heard of this. Their tax professional doesn't even offer this as a strategy. This is something that I see very often also, is that they're a contractor and they deal in a cash business sometimes. And so they don't report certain income. I mean, this is a gloves off conversation. Okay. I came here to give you the real deal. I'm going to pull back the curtains and we're going to talk about the wizard behind the curtain. Okay. Sometimes they're dealing in a cash business and they kind of squirrel away some money and they don't report it. So their income reflects very low. And then they think that they're going to be able to sell that business for something when they look like they've made $50,000 for the past 10 years. That's not going to be a sellable business. So it's not just about tax evasion, right? These are all legal, moral, and ethical strategies. Go ahead and count that income, because then you can work with a financial strategist, you can work with a tax strategist who is going to show you how you can mitigate, eliminate, and reduce those taxes legally, so that when you do go to sell that business, you can get a true valuation of your business that has been cash flow. And by the way, you have the strategies that are in place that are not gray areas. These are tried and true strategies. There's nothing here that is, under the table. This is all above board advanced planning. And then you can show that gain, but also show how you've been able to mitigate a majority of those taxes, if not at all of them, by using this advanced planning. So I love that. That was a great point there. So what is something, let's say somebody hasn't done the things and now and they want to sell their business. Where could they start? Like, things are just kind of a mess. They've got a partnership. They've never had a partner, but they're still sole proprietor. Like, where are a couple of places that they should start if they have a business that's cash flowing, but they're just all cattywampus?
So the first thing I say is we have to go back to the start. So if a client comes to me today and say that I am looking to sell my business in the next 6 months or in the next 12 months, and I'll ask them, do you keep books? What are your books like? What are your taxes like? Are you reflecting all your income? Those types of questions. Based on those answers, we need to go back to the start. We need to go back to the beginning. And the beginning doesn't mean that we need to go back to 10 years ago when you started. It means that as best as possible, let's go back to the last 3 years or maybe the last 5 years and see how much of your finances we can get in order so that we can move forward. So someone who's looking at your business now can see a picture of the last 5 years. When you start year 5, it'll be a little sketchy because we don't have all the information. It was 5 years ago. But as you progress in time coming forward, you can see that this is a business, this is growing, and you can see what happened, how much cash came into the business, how it's operated and all of that. So when you're up in the market now, the business is for sale, it is easy to see that the growth potential in that business. I also tell them to start creating the systems now. So the systems that you needed to have in place before, but you don't have, we need to start creating the systems now. We need to start creating the SOPs on how you handle every single aspect of that business. Again, you need that business to look self-sufficient so that when someone comes in, it's almost like, I don't need to be there for that business to operate. The new owner doesn't need to be there for that business to operate, right? Because if everything has an SOP, everything is systematized, then Anyone can come in and run that business, and you will not believe how much that can increase the value of that business.
Yeah, that's so good. And especially if they own the building, right? Some businesses own their building if they have a physical building, and a lot of them don't. What do you see generally in contractors? Do you see that the majority of them are renting the space that they're in, or do a lot of them actually own the building that they're working out of?
So most of them rent. And here's what I tell them. So if you're renting, you're paying rent to someone else, you're helping someone to build their real estate empire. But if you own that building, you can self-rent. You can buy a building, rent it to your business, make an election to treat that rental income as the same operations as that business. So it's not passive income. And let's go back to cost segregation. So let's say
Right.
I'm a contractor and I'm renting a space. It is a 3,000 square foot space, and I'm paying rent. I can buy that building. I can rent that building to myself. I get a deduction for the interest on the loan that I'm paying for that building. I get the rent from that rental income expense that the business is getting the deduction for. And then I make a dash for election. The dash for election allows me to treat that rental income as operating income. It's not passive income. And I can cost tag that building, which means that I can now take a building that would have been depreciated over 39 years and accelerate depreciation into 5, 7, 15 years. It gives me huge amounts of depreciation that I can take now. So that building that I just purchased allows me to harvest the depreciation, to create more deductions in my operational business, get tax deductions for them. So that's a tax benefit. I'm making money. I'm making the money. I'm paying myself. I'm deducting the expense, and getting depreciation. And I can now take that income that I gained from that and go buy me another building. Why wouldn't you do that?
Oh my gosh. That is so sexy. Listen, if you didn't follow all of that, because there's a lot of maybe technical lingo, just understand that if you have the ability to buy a building and you want to talk to Miss Chris, okay? We call that double dipping. We call that compound pounding, using the same money twice. That's why the rich and wealthy, listen, they are not smarter than us. They just have smart people. I always say, I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I just have to know the smartest person in the room. And that's how I got into this
Exactly.
plaza here. That's how I'm in the metaverse. I don't know anything about this, but you know what? I know some smart people. Hello, LLC and Mr. Mike Drop David Jones. Thank you so much for putting this together for us. And of course, I call her Miss Christmas, the Miss Tara Bush. She designs so much. She pours so much into me. Every time I see her, she's got a gift for me. And I just adore this too. If you want to upgrade your presence, listen, it's about the metaverse. We got to upgrade our regular. I love what you said, Chris. That was so fire. So let's say this is something that I see a lot too, is that people just, they get to this point where they haven't really done anything, but now they're not really sure where to go to. And you kind of helped us with that. But maybe let's say your strategies, are just above them and they just don't feel like they could understand that. What should they do if this just sounds intimidating to them?
Okay, so I tell clients that it is when I speak with someone for the first time, I tell them that if you're a contractor, if I'm speaking with a contractor, you're a contractor, you know how to build homes, you know how to do what contractors do. I know nothing about construction except from the financial side of things. But what I do know is tax strategy. So you may not understand exactly what the strategy is, and I will take the time to break that down to you. And that's one of the things that I love about what I do. What I do is I help clients understand. I don't just, we're doing this strategy, this, and this strategy. That's not what I do. I educate my clients. I teach my clients. And some people think that, well, if you teach them, then why do they need you? But you can give someone as much information as you want to, but that doesn't mean they are able to implement the information that you give them. So I break things down. I break the tax code down to a client. Every strategy is broken down in a way that you can understand it. We don't move forward on a strategy unless you understand what that strategy is and what it does. And I tell
Oh, I
clients,
love that.
maybe at first you don't understand, but it is better to take a step forward than to sit in overwhelm, because sitting in overwhelm is costing you thousands of dollars. Taking a step forward and having that conversation, finding that person who is the best fit for you could save you thousands. So which one would you rather do? Sitting overwhelmed and be like, well, I don't understand it. I'm overwhelmed. I can't stand the IRS. I hate the IRS. We all hate the IRS, but overwhelm doesn't help us.
Yeah, for sure. And we're kind of winding down here. We have a few people who've joined us. We have the amazing Mr. Annie Ong Song. He's global. He's going to help you make you famous. Listen, if you're looking to write a book, you want to be an author, you want to co-author, you've always dreamed of becoming famous, but you're not sure where to start, talk to my good friend, the godfather of LinkedIn audios. He's a godfather of LinkedIn. Definitely reach out to him. And he's so sweet. He said, you are always the smartest finance professional in every room. I don't know that that's true, but I definitely work hard, right? I study every day. And then we have the amazing Miss, I call her the queen, my queen, Miss Kimberly Wells. She says, I look forward to connecting with you. Awesome. So you got some fans out here, Miss Chris. And I'd love for us, we're just kind of winding down, but I would love for you to just tell us what is on the horizon for you, Miss Chris, in 2025. I say 2025 is our year to thrive. So what can we expect to see from you? You're very active on social media. By the way, follow her. She's got an incredible YouTube channel. If some of these strategies are interesting to you and you would like to learn more, her YouTube channel is chock full of information and quick videos that you can start to dip yourself into this. So, but what's on the horizon for 2025, Ms. Chris?
So I have a few things in the pipeline for 2025. 2025 for me is all about the clients, but in a way that puts me out there so people know that these are the things that you can do. The strategies are not available, not to a select few. They're using the same tax code. You just don't have access to the information because you're not working with the right people. So my goal for 2025 is to be out here as much as possible. My YouTube channel is called Breaking the Ceiling, and on my YouTube channel, I interview business owners so that we can get a glimpse of where they were, where they're heading, and how they're helping and how I can help them. And on social media, I'm planning to introduce Tax Tips Tuesdays, where every Tuesday, I'll be sharing some tax tips that business owners and other high income earners can use to implement in their businesses and in their lives that can help them to protect their wealth, not just to protect it, grow it, because you have to first earn it, grow it, protect it, to help them to do all of those things. So this is what I'm up to in 2025. Just putting the word
I
out
love
that
tax tips.
it is available to everyone, not just
I
to
am
select few.
for collaboration. Absolutely. I'm so fired up for our future collaborations also. We speak the same language. I mean, I think sometimes we're the same person. I'm not really sure, but yeah, we really think alike. It's been a lot of fun. I have a lot of tax professionals that I do refer my clients to, and this is the number one thing I look for. Yes, you want somebody that is in your industry. That's really critical. but I also say you want somebody that is going to match your personality. So when I'm matching up my clients to a tax professional, I really look for somebody I think that they could work with and get along with, because this person is going to know everything about you. They're going to know everything you're spending your money on. They're going to know all about your finances. You have to feel comfortable that you can really expose yourself in that way so that they can properly guide you. So that's going to kind of do it for us. We're kind of winding down here, but how can they reach you, Miss Chris? If this has sparked their interest, what's the best way for them to reach you?
So I'm on every, well, not every because there's so many of them, but I'm on the main social media platforms as my name. You'll find me Christiane Cardi on LinkedIn. You'll find me Chris Cardi on Facebook, TikTok, Christiane Cardi, Instagram, Christiane Cardi, or the Tax to Wealth EA. You can find me on every social media. You can also find me on my website, which is getvanda.com. That's it. Or you can email me at team@getvanda.com.
Absolutely. And you forgot the most important part. She is actually getting her biz in a box. If you guys have not seen my biz in a box, you got to check it out. I think it's adorable. I think it's beautiful. And I just am so grateful to Miss Tara and Mr. Mike Drop, Mr. David Jones for creating it for me. They did incredible work. I get so many compliments on it. And Miss Chris is going to have her smart link very, very soon also. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I learned a lot. I got some great notes here. I'm excited for our collaborations and just for excited for 2025, right? This is the year to thrive. This is the year to take yourself to that next income level. And by the way, if you are an entrepreneur, you're a solopreneur, you're a business owner, listen, you're not in a linear business. That means you're not going to get a promotion to go step by step and get your income to 50,000 to 60,000 and wait to get that next promotion. You are in business because you can go from zero to hero in one day, one conversation, maybe one sit down with Chris and you learn how to keep more of your wealth. Maybe one strategy that you learn and now you're willing to 10x. Maybe one year and now you have an abundance of wealth. Remember, it's not about how much money you make, but how much money you keep that matters the most. And when you work with Miss Chris, you can keep more of your money. And I think that is sexy. I don't know about you. I know sometimes people tell me, oh, Leah, that's too much money. With all due respect, I don't think there's such a thing as too much money. I intend to travel the world. I intend to donate a lot of money. I intend to build a community center. You know, one of my goals is to donate $1 million. I have that written down. I'm making $1 million. Listen, I tithe and I believe in tithing. That means I'm making over $10 million plus, right? So it's a beautiful thing. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Whether you watch this live or you're watching the replay, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will see you all at the top because we all know it's just way too crowded at the bottom. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Leah. Thank you, David. And thank you, Tara. Bye.